Hi, I'm Joe LaGilia, and on this episode of Not Your Average Joe, we're talking with Adam Kotowski of CoachAdam34.com. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Joe, where we highlight real community heroes. Today, we're talking with Coach Adam of CoachAdam34.com. Coach Adam, welcome to the show.
Joe, honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I know so much about you and your journey, and that's why you're here today, to really kind of showcase this for my audience. So if you can, in your own words, kind of tell everybody who you are and what you're all about.
Okay, so Adam Kotowski, I go by Coach Adam, and I've been a mentor / coach for the last 18 years. Been blessed and honored to work in this wonderful community. And it started out as a mental training program for student athletes. With the demand of travel sports and competitive greatness in both academics and athletics, there was just such a calling for me to work with these extraordinary young athletes, student athletes, and it expanded into different areas from working with our challenge youth to working with people in corporations to working with families and counseling. So it's my absolute passion. It's my absolute honor. I love serving the community.
Yeah, and that's why you're here, because so many stories that you've been able to share over the years and months that I've known you, it's been remarkable to hear of the transformation that comes from your program. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into that. But I want to kind of talk about something that you said the first time I met you. You said you are a certified NLP master practitioner. Yeah. And I immediately just had thoughts of, when I hear that, is that sounds like something that took a lot of training and a lot of dedication. But kind of share, if you can, what is that?
Sure. So when in 2001 to 2003, I actually went back and got my MBA. So trying to tell my wife that I wanted to go back and possibly get into psychology was rather unique. As you know, a good conversation. But I had discovered through my own process, I actually had a complete nervous breakdown at age 26. Through my own internal work on myself, I had discovered this thing called NLP, which was neuro-linguistic programming. And the big thing with NLP is it's about communication. It's effective communication. And what I realized is that we have three stems of communication. One is auditory, through verbal, what we hear, or through our ears and listening. There is verbal, which is what we speak. But there's also kinesthetic, which is through our body movements and patterns. And I fell in love with this because I really felt that we see the surface structure of communication, but there's a different part of it that's underneath. It's the deep structure of communication. And when I started training with NLP, I started doing everything on me first. I started working internally on those three areas of communication. And when I noticed my transformation and getting better, my exact response was, how do I bring this to the world? Because I know there's a lot of other people out there. And NLP is, started in 1975. Somehow the same year I was born. I can't figure that out. But they started in Santa Cruz, California. And the people who were the originators, Robert Dilts, Judith Delosier, they actually invited me out there. Judith Delosier did. I met her at the Institute of Chicago practitioner course. And she's like, I know you can take this to a level you want to. You need to come out to California and learn the master practitioner. I said, I'm in, so saved a lot of money, went out there. I was out there for 12 days. And I learned from the people who created and invented NLP. And it was truly just an extraordinary experience because I learned this deep, effective communication. And NLP is a lot of the processes are techniques and processes from very successful thinkers and therapists. We have Virginia Satir, we have Fritz Perl, we have Milton Erickson. People who did very successful work in their field in psychotherapy, that they use specific techniques and ways of doing things. So I went out there, I got certified, and I immediately brought it back to what I was doing here, and it's been history ever since.
Amazing. And I know so many of those disciplines you've shared with me, but specific to what that transformation has meant to you in your own life, who are the type of people that you've been able to meet on your journey that has been changed as well through this?
Well, Joe, it's expanded. So it's all been word of mouth. I've done very little marketing, and the reason being is because I have found in challenging situations, people will find you, people will connect with you, and it's usually when people really have this internal battle going on that they just don't have answers to. My role has always been to kind of get inside of their thinking and let them know you're okay. All right. There's no such thing as reality. There's just a map of what we think reality is. And I have to see how you're thinking, what you believe your reality is, in order to kind of bring something new to the forefront. So when you ask, who do you work with, or who are you impacting, it's a loaded question because, like I said, it started out when I worked with student athletes because there was such a demand. The travel and club sports have escalated to a very high level, and that's where kids are getting recruited for college and pro sports. So there's such a mental push for competitive greatness there and in the academic arena so that they can get into the careers they want to and perform. So, I started working with them on their internal states, their internal beliefs, how they view the world, their map of reality, what their mission and purpose in life is. And then that expanded to, well, you know what, can you work with my older child? Hey, can you work with me? And then, contacted by the superintendent of programs at the Illinois Youth Corrections Facility, hey, would you be willing to bring your program and work with the challenged youth? Absolutely, And the common question I always get is, well, can it work for what we're doing? Why can't it? I mean, how many people have had an anchor where they're stuck with something and they don't know why? Well, that's my job. That's what I'm here to figure out and help you figure out. And then you're going to get credit for the work because you're doing it. I'm just here to guide you.
One of the things that was really brought to my awareness through you and being connected to you, especially over the last 15 months, has been what I believe to be a undertold story, which is the effect of COVID on youth.
Yeah.
And so much of what you've shared in contributing to that awareness has been just an unbelievable, when you look at the youth and what they're dealing with, they need to be able to have that center point of, hey, we're going to get through this. Talk to if you can, to the audience about what your experience has been through COVID, talking with the youth of this world.
So it's I say this because obviously I'm not a medical practitioner or in that field, but from what I've researched and what I've seen, COVID has exposed a lot in people. Now, what does that mean? When you actually have gotten the COVID virus, whatever your immunity is, if there's a weak link in there, it exposes it, right? But from what I do, it's also done that on the mental side. So what COVID has done through isolation, what it has done through quarantining, has exposed the challenges in thinking that we have. And to me, ground zero to me is always working with the youth, because obviously I'm a proud parent of 4 amazing kids myself. And their challenges are no different from what you see in the community. And what COVID has done is really challenge them on the mental side, right? And just, again, how they view things, how they see the world. What happened? Our world just got flipped upside down. Here I am going to school, enjoying my buddies, and now I'm sitting on a Zoom call, and I can't leave my house. And it also, in what I'm a big advocate for, because I've had ADHD and dyslexia my whole life, is the neurodiversity. There's a whole different neurodiverse world in how students see things and learn. And it actually brought out some great things because they learned one-on-one individual Zoom, e-learning, but it also brought out that isolation where they wanted to be together. So I received a lot of outreach from a lot of parents, but a lot of kids themselves. So I was consistently either calling or texting and working with someone, honored by that. And we really did a lot of transformations, but at the same time, it was a concern because, there's a lot of kids that didn't reach out. There's a lot of parents that didn't reach out. And I think that it's really our opportunity for parents and coaches and teachers and everybody to get really involved and learn how to communicate effectively with these kids, because these kids are crying for more. They want more. And they're telling us this. And it's our job to not just do how we're instructed in a paycheck, but to really understand these kids on a high level to get them to where they need to go.
I love the passion. Yeah. I really, looking at the website, CoachAdam34.com, so much of your story is there, from the group setting where I see you speaking to dozens of kids, and like you've always shared with me, the parents are on the second degree of that, listening to the lessons you're teaching the kids, and it's just ironic how it's all applicable to both parents and kids.
Yeah.
In addition to that, you see the stories of you working one-on-one, as you just shared, encompassing all of that, and this is a very big question.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of this journey up to this point?
That is a loaded question. Because the ones who I would love for them to tell their story, that would really impact the world, because of confidentiality, a lot of times they can't. Because they've had such a deep wound that, I really would love for them to come forward, but it's up to them, right? My confidentiality and obviously working with anyone, especially the youth, is extremely important. But I really would love for their stories to come out from the standpoint of what they overcame, so that other people in communities and this community can connect to that and say, I'm not alone. You know what? And they did it. So there's hope, there's faith. There's so it's a loaded question, Joe, because there is so much inspiration in working with a student athlete and also with their parent, and then working with the communication between them both, so they could overcome the hurdles that they feel are blocking them, and witnessing and seeing their transformation in the process. I can't describe it. Nor do I really want to try to describe that. But I really do hope one day, and I encourage them in some way, shape, or form, whether it be in writing or blogging or journaling or even in a video like this, to tell their story, because I just know how impactful it will be, and we're growing in such a non-judgmental world because I'm creating that. I am really creating the non-judgment, and I'm taking pride in that. That these people really have extraordinary stories to tell, and I want them to tell it. I want them to say what they went through and how they overcame it.
So great. Speaking of stories to tell, I've been really blessed to, be a spectator to 2 separate book launches that you've done.
Yeah.
And it's been an inspiration, Coach Adam, and I have to share that with you because it's a dream of mine to write a book, launch a book, and here you are. When I first met you, you were launching your first book, and it was incredibly successful. And then during COVID, you launched your second book. And just kind of speak, if you can, about each of those experiences, and please share a little bit about those books.
Sure. So first book I created was You Are Extraordinary. And I say with You Are Extraordinary, it's about 60 to 70% of my actual program when working with a lot of student athletes. And I say 60 to 70% because the other 30 to 40% is always going to be what you want me to work with you, right? The most dominant element in any system is most flexible. So I always leave it open because I want to make sure I'm collaborating with you on what you want in your program and who I'm working with. But You Are Extraordinary is based on a lot of the work I've done over the years. And when I started bringing this work 18 years ago, there was a hesitation because I said, is community ready for this? Will they understand it? Will they think I'm crazy? But every year that I bring this program, everybody reaches out to me, most of the coaches and parents, saying, I can't even tell you what I've learned, And because it's set up for these people to get creative in their own way, to realize where they're stuck and realize what's blocking them and get them to that creative genius where they can create a new program, a new plan, and stop doing things the old way, because yesterday ended yesterday. It's done. Whether it happened one day ago or 1 year ago, it's over, right? The only thing you have is creating something new today. And this is the opportunity with You Are Extraordinary. Is it talks about your identity, who you are, your mission, why you're here, and the beliefs you have. So there's 2 types of beliefs. You have the ones that actually will launch you, okay, the ones that support you, and then you have the ones that anchor you. What we need to do is we need to transform these and update these to something that's more of a launch so that we get the double engine rocket taking us up to support our mission and beliefs and our identity. Once you do that, there's no other way to say it, you're an unstoppable force. Even though there's so many people trying to hack you down and create something different, this really gets you to that point where I'm not ordinary, I'm extraordinary. Second book is my Extraordinary ADHD, and I did this, and it's really, it's created a lot of advocacy. I've had a lot of parents throughout the entire country, East Coast to West Coast, reach out to me because of this book, because their child neurodiversity and ADHD, dyslexia, autism, dysgraphia, and I clearly state in here, you are extraordinary. You are a super learner. You learn uniquely. There's standardized curriculum that's just no longer going to work, right? If you look at 2% of the billionaires, 2% of the population in this world, this globe, are billionaires. Of those 2%, I know this is weird math, 50% of them have dyslexia. Think about that. They don't think common. They are super learners. So my Extraordinary ADHD was created. It's a very simple read. It's, one chapter is one page. And it's to support all of these kids that think and have been told, like me, I've been told, you're stupid. You can't learn. You'll never make anything of yourself. Oh, I heard all these things growing up. I want them to know, no, you are a super learner. You do have a unique way of learning, and it's an extraordinary way. And you can bring that as your ability to see what others don't see. And I know that that's what I use in my coaching. Because when I learned about auditory, kinesthetic, and verbal, when people sit down and start talking to me, their body speaks volumes. I can see and I can listen with both my eyes and my ears. And a lot of times, 5 to 10 minutes into the conversation, I know what the problem is, but I can't tell them. I've got to let them get to that aha. And when they get to that aha, they're like, and I'll be sitting there going, yeah. But I knew because your body told me, your language told me, you had said something that you just bypassed in your subconscious when you were speaking to me. And that's what I use with my Extraordinary ADHD. And it's an encouraging book. It's a simple book. I think it's $5. But I want people to know, you know what? You are extraordinary. You are a super learner, and you're going to bring a new creativity to the table that they never thought of before. That's why we need you, right? It's this world to advance. We've got to bring new ways of doing things. We've got to bring our creative learning, and we have to be accepting of that as mentors and coaches too.
What an incredible mission. Coach Adam, the books are an incredible read. I can't encourage them enough. What I really enjoy is that you've brought these stories to life in audio form through your Coach Adam 34 podcast, which I'm an avid listener of.
Yeah.
If you can, kind of talk about that journey and what that's meant to you.
So I love the journey when it comes to podcasts. There's 2 podcasts that I produce. One is the Extraordinary Me Program podcast, and that is interviewing extraordinary people like yourself, where ordinary people who choose the extraordinary, outside the box thinkers, ordinary people in the community that really just go above and beyond. No one famous, that society deems famous. These are just ordinary people who do little things. Excuse me. I often say little hinges swing big doors. That's what I interview. I want these people known. I want their extraordinary to be known. And then there's the Extraordinary Me Mentoring Program podcast. And that is usually me talking for 10 to 20 minutes. And a lot of that is based on the book. It's a lot of my processes is what I do. But it's also to reach out to that kid who's struggling. And it's also to reach out to the parents who are struggling to communicate effectively with their kids. And it gives them some ideas. It gives them processes on what they can use and how they view things. Like we talked about with NLP, what that taught me was there's no such thing as reality, just your map of reality, right? Well, I have to understand your map of reality because I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. But I have to understand how you view that map of reality in order for us to work together on it. And we can probably create a new map of reality between the two of us.
So great.
Yeah.
Coach, so many times the hero doesn't know he's a hero. And one of the things that prompted me to really elevate my reality map of you was, during the time of COVID, with everything happening, specifically with students and, of course, student athletes, unfortunately having seasons be put on hold and what all that meant. One of the things I heard you say to the world was, regardless of my services from a cost approach, if somebody needs to talk, I want to keep that door open and I'm here to talk to you during that time. That was incredible to me. And I shared that with you because it was so endearing to say, what you speak and what you're all about. It is such a genuine thing that you are trying to bring this light to this world. So you're a hero to me for that reason, and many more. But why do you see that title being brought on yourself?
I don't. So I didn't know what you were going to say till now. Joe, I see heroes people who serve in the military, the healthcare throughout COVID, what they did, who they became. I see, the single parents who are trying to make it through life and just be at their kids' graduation and smile. Those are heroes to me. I don't see myself as a hero. I see myself as, the transition person. I have told you this, I tell this to everybody. If someone calls me and is in a bad way or is just low, let's talk. Let's meet. What's up? Tell me. Spill it out. It's me and you. Nobody else is going to know. I want to know what's going on because I want them to feel safe in saying, I need help. Okay. That's why we're here. There's so many times where people have reached out to me and we'll talk and we just have just an extraordinary session. And they were really low or they were really challenged. And then a week or two will go by and say, hey, do I have to pay you for this? And my response is, I didn't even think about that. Right? Because this is my passion. It's what I love to do. It's also my calling. There has been so many times in my life where God will literally sit me down and say these words, shut up and listen. Right? And it's the greatest things you can say to a retired athlete, right? Because you need someone to talk to you like that. And he knows how to talk to me. And he's like, shut up and listen. And I'm going to show you what you need to do. And doggone it, if the next day he doesn't bring me someone who absolutely needs to talk or is challenged in some way, and I'll be like, all right, okay. Yeah, I'm going to shut up and listen. That's what I'm going to do what you tell me to do. So, Joe, I feel I'm the transition person, and that is someone who gets you to see things in a completely different perspective because that's my gift so that you can excel and be who you came here to be because quite frankly, we need it. COVID also exposed that there's no normal anymore and we need to create a new normal. And, my MO is love and peace. That's what God created, love and peace. We created everything else. Our egos created everything else. So my role is to extend that love and peace and to bring people to the table so that they can understand they can be a part of that and they go out and share it too. That's it.
Coach, I'm going to still call you a hero, but I appreciate the answer. And with that said, the world wants to know who's your hero?
Wow. It's not one person, Joe, it's everybody that I've met along the way. So, it's the social worker that I met at the hospital who will take a call at 2 or 3 in the morning when someone's lost a loved one at the hospital. And she needs to walk in there, no questions asked, to give that person a hug and to guide them through and sit with them till all hours of the day, till she feels she can leave them. It's the nurse who works midnight shifts and gets home and still has the kids to get to school and get them ready and somehow take a 2-hour nap so that she can be at their school to do lunch and to keep everything going and then have to get home and somehow get a 2 or 3 hour nap in to go right back to work at night and to serve the community. It's the veteran, the special operations commando who does things and never asks or can never tell. It's the people, the silent ones who do because they want to, and they don't ask for anything in return. So my hero is many, and more importantly, that's who I want to be. These are the people I want to be, and do things that only God knows. So give to people who need things, help people in some way that need it, and then kind of smirk and, it's between me and you. And that's it. And that's who I see as my hero. It's not just one person, it's so many. And I hope, my one hope is that I could recognize these people, So if it means buying a cup of coffee for someone who's struggling, then that's what I'm going to do, right? Or get them breakfast or give them a hug. And there's so many people, you can see it in their eyes, like, you need a hug, come here, right? That's to me, I want to honor those heroes. Those are the people that I want to know you matter. And it's also, Joe, it's when I say it's more than one person, it's that person who's absolutely struggling and wants to throw in the towel, but is willing to hold on for just a little longer. That's my hero.
It's an incredible answer.
And it's not just one person. It's anybody who takes that. And that just got me teary-eyed. But it's when you really want to quit, but there's just something inside of your soul is saying, hold on, just hold on for just a little longer. The right person's going to show up. Your guide's going to show up. Your mentor's going to show up. The person who's going to make you believe in yourself is going to show up. That's my hero.
Coach, to the audience who's watching that wants to connect to this light, and I'm here to tell you it's incredible. Coach, between the books, between the podcasts, between the mentoring, between just following your journey, because I believe your journey has only just begun. What's the best way someone can connect with you?
Absolutely. My website has everything. So it's www.coachadam34.com. It has my contact information. It has the books. It has my podcasts. It has YouTube tutorials. It has people who've given testimony. You'll be inspired by the people who've given testimony. Ordinary people who've chosen the extraordinary and overcome the odds. I really want to thank you, Joe, for holding this and having me as a guest. I do feel that my journey in the community is beginning. My purpose is to really help the community understand their effective communication and bring that to their work, to their families, to their teams, to their schools, and together, each one by one, each kid and each parent and each person can go back and transform a situation. And that's what I want to do. That's who I am.
Coach, thank you for being an inspiration for the show, and thank you for being a hero for so many. And thank you to our audience for joining us for another episode of Not Your Average Joe, highlighting real community heroes. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
Hi, this is Adam Kotowski, Coach Adam with CoachAdam34.com. And if you know anybody who's ordinary and chooses the extraordinary and would love to be a guest on the Not Your Average Joe show, please have them contact ASAP.